Hello and welcome to this episode of the Social CMO Show. I'm your host Shilpi Agarwal and my guest today is Larry Kim. He is the founder of Wordstream. He started Wordstream in 2007 and today it has grown into 130 plus employees as well as thousands of customers and millions of users worldwide. He is known as the ad guru expert as well as the most influential PPC expert. Please welcome Larry King.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Thank you, Larry. So, Larry, tell us, why did you start Wordstream?
Search marketing is very powerful, but it's also very, very complicated. And so, the idea was to build some kind of product that could make all the power of search marketing be kind of more simple, and that was kind of the idea.
Mm-hmm. And you certainly you accomplished that, right? I mean, you made it simple with the PPC University and the checklists and things like that. So I'm sure you've really come true on the vision that you had.
Yeah, we're doing great. We've got thousands of customers and signing up like many customers every day. So it's exciting. So thanks.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So Larry, tell us, 2015 has clearly been like the year of mobile. We are not only going online from time to time, but we are practically living our lives online now. It has also been predicted that soon, the mobile advertising and the ad performance will surpass that of desktop. What are your thoughts on advertising, since you are the advertising expert and specifically the PPC ad expert? I want to talk to you specifically about mobile advertising today, and what are the differences you see in mobile versus desktop advertising?
Sure. Well, first of all, more than half of the searches, like in terms of Google searches, search engine searches, are happening from mobile, and if you're doing like social advertising, like on Twitter or Facebook, more than 80% of that ad inventory is through mobile, and so obviously it's a pretty big deal if you're not thinking about this. It's very transformative. Essentially, that's the way that people are accessing the internet, and so you have to stop thinking of it as in terms of like people will have these long sessions of like 30 minutes or an hour to research your product, and instead to be able to connect with them much more quickly, because the pattern of usage for mobile is substantially shorter. Like they'll just check something quickly, like check the weather or check for directions or something like that, and so there's a lot of opportunities, but you have to go about it in a different way.
Absolutely, that's so true. So what are some of the ad formats and ad extensions that are available specifically for mobile?
Sure. Would you be more interested in Google or Facebook or both?
Let's start with Google, and then we can go to Facebook.
Sure. On mobile, Google, the most important thing that you have to use if you're an advertiser hoping to tap into some of this demand coming from mobile for your products and services, you need to use ad extensions. The two most important ad extensions are the call extension, which will allow a mobile user to call you directly from their smartphone, and that's very valuable because you'll be able to then talk to them and then take their order. And the other most important thing would be the location extensions, which would provide them with kind of directions to your store. Something like 20% of mobile searches are navigational in nature. They're trying to find a place or something nearby, and so those are like a map extension is critical. So those are two very interesting ad formats. Beyond that, there's these new richer ad formats on mobile that will, like, for car ads or for credit card applications or mortgages or hotel ads where they're more rich in images and review information, and even have the ability to book online directly from your phone rather than sending people to some other landing page. And so I think those are very exciting.
So that cuts an entire process, like a step that you send your lead gen towards a landing page and then hope that they will call you or fill out a form and then you contact them. So this call now button is great because you can instantly get the lead.
Exactly. So what Google is doing is recognizing that the attention is more quicker, like on mobile, and the intent is stronger. So they want to be able to help you do what you need to do very quickly without having to go to different websites and stuff like that.
So, what are some of the call tracking mechanisms that you find are great for being able to utilize them?
Well, first of all, the call tracking is super important because you can't imagine doing, internet marketing without, Google Analytics or some kind of web analytics application. And so now that more than half of the searches and traffic is coming from mobile, most of the valuable interactions that are going to happen is actually going to happen on the phone. Like people will call you, and so like if you don't have a mobile tracking solution in place, it's very difficult to know how to
How many people?
optimize.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if you're not measuring like what's the value is. So first of all, like less than 5% of companies have a mobile call tracking solution in place. I think that's crazy.
Wow.
You should be looking into that. But basically, I think the key value is twofold. One, they'll do kind of call tracking where they change the number of your phone number to forward to your number so that they can register, the details of the call, like, so how many people called, at what time, where did they call from, so the information about your calls. Another really important thing has to do with call recording. So what these softwares do is that
For training purposes.
they'll allow you to listen to the calls later, and I think that's very, very critical because if you're not training people to answer the calls, that's almost like having a very, very bad landing page, right? Because like in desktop, you send people to a landing page, and then it has to be a really good quality landing page so that it's compelling, But in mobile, there is no landing page; it just goes straight to a call. So those training, like the call center staff, has to be really trained in how to answer people's questions.
So, what are your thoughts on Google Analytics being sufficient for the call tracking mechanism, or the third-party tools to put into place are essential? What do you think?
I think that the third-party tools are essential, and you should look into those types of solutions.
So, using these extensions, it does not guarantee that Google will actually, when it shows your ad, then it will actually use these extensions. It depends on your ad rank for it to be high enough to be able to show these ads with the extensions. What is the best way to ensure that you have a higher ad rank so that these ads show up with extensions?
Well, so first of all, in mobile, there are so few ad spots. Like there's one or two at the top. So there's a very, very high chance that if your ad is selected to be displayed, then they will display it with an extension. Now, in desktop, there's like 10 or 12 different ad spots, and they only show the extensions for the top 3 ads. Do you see what I mean? But on mobile, because there's only like 2 ads at the top, usually they have extensions. So the question really is, on mobile, how can you ensure that your ads get shown?
Yeah.
And if they do get shown, they will probably get shown with extensions.
Yeah.
And the answer is to maximize your ad rank. That means bidding up a little bit. So there's something called mobile bid adjustments, where you can say increase your bids by 20% or 30%, whatever you wish, if the search originates from mobile. And then there's the quality score in terms of what the click-through ads are, and you're trying to make those click-through rates as high as possible because the higher the click-through rate, the higher your ad rank. So essentially, a couple tricks to increasing the click-through rates would be to think about like mobile search keywords, and they tend to be more navigational or commercial in nature. So, like directions to, like, it could just be a Japanese restaurant, or that's that means they're looking for something nearby. Like, so I would be bidding on those kind of navigational or high commercial intent keywords like emergency locksmith or whatever, where people are looking to buy something right away, and I would perhaps be de-emphasizing kind of the more traditional educational keywords, like where it seems like they're just looking to learn, because on mobile, I think they're ready to do something now. Or like think about your own behavior. When do you call people? It's when you're further down in the funnel.
That makes a lot of sense. So what are some of the pitfalls that you have seen in common when people are like creating their ad groups? What are the common mistakes that people make in
I
ad
think
group structuring?
So I think the most common errors are things like forgetting to set the mobile bid adjustments that I talked about just a minute ago. I think that mobile is more competitive, so you should be like there's far fewer spots. So I think you need to, in terms of the ads, you need to bid those keyword bids up a little bit, 20 or 30%. So that would be one error. Another error is just failure to leverage all those ad extensions that I was talking about. Like, just people forget to include those
Call now.
call
And
now buttons and all that stuff, which makes a big difference. But it's just extra work, so they forget sometimes.
so speaking of extra work, Google just announced last week about the automated extensions for shopping ads, the PLAs.
Yeah.
Now this is great because it's great for e-commerce vendors. It helps them completely automate. It's free first of all, and it's completely automated. It's great when you can offer free shipping and things like that, but how can small vendors take advantage of it when they and play with the big boys if they cannot take advantage, they cannot offer free shipping? How can they take advantage of this feature?
Well, I don't think that this is a situation where, only the big companies will benefit and the small benefits won't. There are many advantages of being small. For example, the complexity of running an AdWords account or a Facebook ads account for a smaller business is substantially less complicated. It just could be a um, like if this is not offered for people who don't have free shipping. I mean, you can still use Google Shopping campaigns that don't leverage this particular feature and still be very successful, I think.
Okay, but so automated feature you think is more suitable to the big e-commerce vendors?
Generally speaking, if you have like thousands of products, and it's just so difficult to come up with those site links and things like this for every single product, that makes a lot more sense to me. Yes.
So ad customizers, which was announced last year, those are also automated ways of adding more details in terms of the brand, the size, when the deadline when it expires, and things like that. So what are some of the differences between the two, between the automated shopping experience as well as the ad customizers?
Well, I think they're both similar in terms of they're automating elements of ad creation, and I think they drive additional attention to the ad, and I think that's very positive. I think that it's a fantastic way to make your ads stick out in terms of competing with the other ads or organic listings on the page, and just another thing for to click on. So you should be taking advantage of that. One really interesting thing about the ad customizers is it creates urgency. So it kind of messes around with people's emotions. So creating a fear of missing out on a sale, it can be very, very motivational in terms of getting not only people to click on your ad, but also to then want to buy the product that they were thinking about buying because of a fear of missing out on a sale or running out of quantity. So both are very important.
So I think like what we were talking about big players and small players, I think the ad customizers can still be leveraged by small players where they can, create an urgency and say, hey, this is going to be offered only for 3 more days or only 5 more pieces left or something like that, where it creates urgency and it creates an emotional attachment with the customer.
Exactly, a fear of missing out, and that's a very powerful motivating force in today's consumer-driven economy. So I think yeah, that's yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
So, so the launch of dynamic display ads, which was done last year again in October, what do you think can the vendors optimize their dynamic display ads for mobile and make sure that they are optimized for conversion?
So we're talking about dynamic display ads.
Like the
Uh,
carousel ads. First of all, I want to know what is the ideal number of images you should show in that carousel ad, and then how many products should you have in the inventory, or how do you make sure that it's optimized for conversion? That person says, "Okay, buy now," and I want to like instantly buy that specifically for mobile.
Sure. Well, these carousel formats, so like they're available on Facebook, for example, and I think it's very interesting. How would you go about optimizing this? I think it has to do with um, so this is essentially a remarketing technology. Someone visits a certain product on your page,
Right.
like
Yeah.
and so you tag them. The system tags them automatically,
Yes.
and then in terms of the images, of course you want to put as many good quality images that you have. But I think the more important than that is it's around like the duration. So like how long do you want to remarket to these people? Maybe if your average sales cycle is like 6 hours or something like that, then set it to be like 2 or 3 days at most. Do you see what I mean? So
Yes.
just
So
trying to
there
be.
is no set rule that you should keep it for 1 day, 7 day, or 120 days. You should do it according to your sales cycle.
Yeah, it should be like 2 or 3 times your average sales cycle, but not longer than that, because you'd be better off focusing on more recent leads. You see what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. So what is a typical, like mostly a typical sales cycle for most vendors?
Oh, that's all over the place. So like for e-commerce, it could be an hour or 2 or 3, but for business to business companies, it could be 6 months. So that's why you really have to, what you should be doing is if you're selling products, you should be kind of making note of when did the sale happen, and then looking back into your database and saying like, when was the first time we interacted with this individual? Like, what was the first time they appeared in our database, and trying to figure out how long on average it takes to sell. And that's very important for setting the membership durations in terms of how long you want to market to or remarket to people in your advertising campaigns.
Cool. So Google recently unveiled the purchase on Google tab, right? So what are your thoughts on that? And what do you foresee as some of the problems that can arise when vendors try to use it?
Just one question. You said Google Tap.
Like purchase on Google tab. There
Oh,
is a
oh,
yeah.
oh, click to
Click.
buy.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. Yeah. So that is kind of a continuation of a trend that we were just talking about earlier. That on mobile, people are in a hurry. They are on the go. They need to do things quickly, and so Google is eliminating stages of the funnel by kind of making the products and services purchasable from the search engine results page. And I think this is a total game changer because it's you're basically changing pay-per-click marketing from pay-per-click to more like pay-per-lead or pay-per-customer. Do you see what I mean? Because by the time they hit that button, they're like very, very far down the purchasing funnel. So if your business is involved in selling kind of transactional business, so like hotels or credit cards or loans and this kind of stuff, where there's a high volume of transactions happening every day. I would definitely be very, very interested in like those buy now buttons, because I think you'll have a tremendous impact on conversion rates. On the other hand, I don't think that those are appropriate for every business. So, for example, business-to-business companies with long sales cycles where you have, that's where the advertiser is primarily doing lead generation for their business using AdWords or Facebook ads, then it doesn't really make sense to try to force some kind of a buy now thing on something that
So
could.
is this buy now your, like, what do you think? The buy now is like Google's way of catching up to the Twitter's buy now button?
Well, the challenge again, like it's not that Google can't do these things. It's very easy for them to do these things. I think the challenge is that they have so many customers who are in the business of selling things on their websites, and so I think Google might feel kind of conflicted in terms of offering the ability to buy things and then undercutting a lot of their advertising partners. Do you see what I mean? Like it's just allowing them to buy directly and eliminating the resellers. So I think that they're just testing these technologies to see how that goes. I don't necessarily think that it's about catching up with Twitter. I think it's just more about experimenting with new ad formats and seeing what works.
Absolutely. So is there anything that I've missed that you would like to share more on mobile advertising in particular?
Sure. Just at a high level, I think it's a very very exciting trend to be like alive at this time where the marketing is really changing dramatically, and just the more there's a shift happening right now. People used to search on desktop applications and browsers, and now they're spending all their time on mobile, and even they're not even spending it on the mobile web. They're spending it in apps mostly. So most of the mobile time is spent like in apps, and so I think we're going to have to kind of rethink, different ways to reach people where they're spending time and where they're discovering information, and so this is a very exciting time just in general.
So what do you see as the future trend towards advertising and specifically for mobile?
Well, I a couple trends. One is individualized advertising. Okay, so things like remarketing and search ads, those work. You're targeting like people who visited your website or people who searched on keywords. Okay, but there are no cookies. Like remarketing doesn't work that well in apps. Like say you're playing a game or using like I don't know some app that you use. Those remarketing cookies don't work in there. What's becoming more popular is this notion of identity-based marketing. That's where they you an advertiser would specify specific emails, and then you could then target those emails like those individuals through advertising, in different mobile apps. Do you see what I mean? Do you see
Mhm.
how that's different from remarketing? Because I could be logged into a dozen different apps, and according to the email, those apps could communicate to the ad server and tell the ad server that Larry's here, who wants to advertise to him, and then some advertiser will say, oh, I want to advertise to him, so that's kind of a trend. The other trend has to do with like these native sort of ad formats for apps. So just having custom ad formats showing up inside of third-party apps.
So right now, is there anything like that for the search
Yes.
marketing?
I would be looking a lot into to Facebook ads, and like they're definitely the kind of coming up with some interesting stuff there, and then on the Google stuff, not as much, but I've been told I read that they were coming out with stuff like this, later this year or in the near future.
So all right, that's great. So something to watch out for new trends in marketing and advertising, as well as specifically for mobile and app in-app purchases and app advertising, targeting to users who are within your interest. So this is great. Thank you, Larry, for taking up this time to talk to us. It was great having you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a good afternoon.
You too. Take care.
Yeah,
Bye.
bye.